Okay, so today is all about fantasy art, creative arts collaboration, hashtag fantasy art, YouTube virtual art crawl. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with some brass stencils. I've got this lovely one here, which is a dragon, and how much more fanciful can you get than dragons and dungeons and that sort of thing. So we're going to work with this, and what we're going to create are some cards using those, along with some embossing paste and some paints. Alright, so one of the first things I want to tell you about working with brass stencils is they're lovely, but they do bend, so you want to keep them on flat surfaces, especially when you're cleaning them. Many of them have sharp little points, so you want to make sure that you're not catching things in them as you're cleaning them. I like to use a nice tape. This is just a painter's tape, frog tape, to tape my stencil down with, and you'll see why. My stencils are well loved. They have been used repeatedly, sometimes in the classroom setting with other people, so they're not always perfectly flat. And one of the problems that you have with a stencil is things flowing underneath. So I would recommend a tape to tape it down. You need plenty of baby wipes and paper towels because this process does get messy. Alright, so my brass stencil is taped down, and because the virtual art crawl for YouTube for this month, 3/16 through 3/20, is fantasy art, I thought nothing more appropriate than dragons and castles and things. So I got out my dragon, and I'm going to use, this is a metallic gold from Dreamweaver's embossing paste. I've had this for a very long time. It keeps very well on the shelf. And what you want to do is load the back of your how do they call this? Yeah, palette knife. And you're going to smear into the openings on your stencil. And you want to work it as little as possible, because when you overwork it, that's when you're pushing that in underneath the stencil. So I've got a good coat on there. I'm going to take it at about a 45-degree angle. I'm going to clean off, put it back in the pot, clean off, back in the pot. Let's see, there's a little excess there. Clean off. And that's all the more you want to work it. Now, you want to clean this stuff off of your palette knife right away. You want to get the lid back on your pot, and I recommend that you wipe the edge before putting the lid back on. And right now it doesn't look very gold, but it will be. And then I start by peeling up the edges. So I'm going to take one edge and the other edge. And now for the bottom. So I want to hold my stencil in place while I peel the bottom one off. And then what I want to do is use this as a hinge. So I'm going to slide underneath the edge. If you can't get under there with a nail, just use your palette knife and slide underneath there and get in between the paper and this. And you're going to use that hinge to flip up. And then we'll peel that up. And then we're going to set this aside to dry. So while I have this out on my desk, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more cards because I have the product. It needs to be used. And I can always use a couple of cards, right? So, just going to quickly get some product down here. And this is just how fast these go. Just like that. Get a baby wipe, clean off my palette, knife, put the lid back on my embossing paste, peel up the edge. That's one edge, and the other edge, and gotta clean that off my mat, and carefully peel back the bottom edge, and use my hinge and lift. There we go. And I have another dragon I'm going to set aside. That got a little bit wonky there, so I'm going to knock it back. And got another card here. Line it up with my card, and this is just watercolor paper I'm using. And get some frog tape. You can see you can do quite a few of these in a short amount of time. Let's see. Get this side. And the other one. Get my embossing paste. This is getting old, so it's a little bit more rubbery than normal. That's why I want to use it up. Yeah, got a little too crazy there. That back in the jar. Wipe off my knife. And one side, whoops, keep my hinge down there. Other side, the bottom. And now we'll use our hinge. Okay. Set that aside to dry. And I'm just going to lay it down flat. Because you see all those little pokey parts. And I'm going to use a baby wipe and clean the embossing paste off. And this is where people end up bending stencils if they don't do it flat on their table. You can take it to the sink, use a soft brush, clean it very easily that way. This is the way I like to do it, just because everything remains flat. And that's kind of essential because these can get bent and then they're kind of ruined. So, at one side, clean the other side. And it really doesn't matter, you know, which side you use. It just kind of depends on which way you want the dragon facing in the end result. I'm going to get a clean towel. I'm going to blot and wipe and make sure that I got every last bit of that out of the cracks and crevices, because I want that to remain. And yeah, these do discolor, but that's okay. I mean, I'm not too worried about that. It's a tool, and you have to remember that these are tools, but bent tools are not good. So now I have a couple of these ready to go, and here is the first one. The embossing powder is, I think, almost dry now, or embossing paste, not powder. Yeah, you can see it's dry, but you see how the gold has come up on there, all right? A lot different than this that looks milky. Okay, now what I want to do is just get some paper down to collect any overspray. And I'm going to use some of these Art Anthology sprays. I'm not sure what color I want to use yet. I'm thinking I want to start with the yellow. Oh, and you don't really need to shake these. It's just habit with me when I pick up something that's liquidy. But you want to move across your paper and keep it relatively close. So when you squirt, you're going to move across your paper like this. And then I'm going to wipe that sprayer because I've had trouble with these clogging before, and I don't really want that to clog. Now this one is called Avocado. That one was Glorious, which is kind of a bright glorious yellow. This has got a green tint to it, which I thought would be pretty cool with this. So I'm going to get this going. And that was Avocado. Let's see. Do I want to go towards, I think I want to go, this is Peacock Feather. And I want just, I think I want just a hint of, well, let me see. First I want to blot some of the excess here and take it off of the embossed area. And then I think I want to, this is called Patience. It's kind of a pinky red. Now I think I'm going to go with Concord. Just want a little bit of that darker color around the edge. Okay, so I'm going to blot again just to keep it off of the embossed area. And then I'm going to dry that. So now I have a card blank. This is black on the outside, white on the inside, so that you can stamp a sentiment on the interior, or you have a place to write. And I'm just scoring that with my bone folder to make sure that I have a nice crease on there. And I have this gold specialty paper. It's, you know, I picked these things up over the years, and I'm not really sure where this one came from, but I know I happen to like it. And I'm going to use some, let's see, what do I have here for glue? Right in front of me I see I have some tacky glue, so I'm going to use that to just put this down with. I'm just going to spread it out a little bit so it doesn't ooze out the sides. And we'll center that onto our card. Nice thing about using a liquid glue like that is the dry adhesives work great, but you don't have any play time for positioning things. So unless you're using a removable adhesive, and then my dragon, put him down, and I've got an ample amount, and this is just going to have a slight reveal of the gold around the edge. And then I have a little bit of matte medium just to catch those corners. Well, maybe. Let's see if this puppy's open. There we go. Make sure I get my corners down good. So I'm going to set a weight on those while I glue the other end. And that'll be that.